Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for next week, 10 days for today's video. This is going to take us into the middle of November. We're going to have high pressure sitting to our east and low pressure is going to be out to the west through the first half of this month. So we're going to be dragging up a lot of mild air from the south. Where this goes in the second half of the month is a little bit more uncertain. Will this high pressure go into a position to bring colder weather to us in the second half of November? That's certainly what we've gone for in the November month ahead forecast. So we'll have to see how it goes. But this video is going to take us up to middle of the month. In fact, a little bit beyond the middle of the month. And we'll see what's happening. Just say that the weekend forecast has been released. So that's giving you your rundown of the weather for the week ahead. We're going to have this duel going on in the week ahead between high pressure to our west and low pressure to the east, bringing up these southerly winds. And so it's going to be quite mild, but the wettest weather will be in the west and the driest weather will be in the eastern part of the country. I say we've also released a month ahead forecast, and that's going for a mild first half, then something maybe a bit colder later on. Now, before we get on with this third and final video for today, just got to give a shout out and a big thank you to our latest donor. So Alan Stockton has become the latest donor via PayPal for Southerly. So a big thank you to Alan Stockton for becoming our latest donor. If you would like to join Alan and all of the other donors that have given us donations over the past few months, then all you have to do is come to the Southerly's PayPal page. I'm on the Southerly's PayPal page right now. Most people have a PayPal account, so you just sign into that, and you can send a one-off donation through to Southerly's, and you'll be helping to pay for the website and help keep content free of charge. A big thank you to all of the donors for Southerly's for doing that. Alternatively, though, you can become a patron for Southerly's. This is a little bit different. This is Southerly's Patreon page, and this is like an ongoing monthly donation, but of course, you cancel at any time, but the idea behind it is that it's a monthly donation. You sign up for a Patreon account. We link to both PayPal and Patreon on the links in the description at YouTube, and also we link to it at all the pages at Southerly's. So you just sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge any sort of amount of money that you would like as a monthly donation to Southerly's. By doing that, you become a patron for Southerly's. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards. So a big thank you to all of the patrons. A big thank you to all of the donors for Southerly's. Special thank you to Alan Stockton for becoming Southerly's latest donor. And yeah, something really special that you're doing for the website. As well as that, we've also got the Christmas shop open. So you've got any Christmas shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. All you have to do is go to the Christmas shop page, and then either through the Amazon search widget or clicking through the Amazon banners, you go from Southerly's to Amazon. Because you've gone from our website to theirs, we get a revenue fee on the Christmas presents that you are buying. And a big thank you to everyone for doing that. So I think that's everything that I've got to tell you. Let's get on with the video. We're going to start by having a look at the Arctic and North Atlantic oscillation observed and forecast charts. Beginning with the Arctic oscillation, the black line here tells where we've been with the Arctic oscillation. The red line's at the end where GFS was forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. Remember, this is an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere. It's not driving anything, just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is in its positive phase, you've got low pressure over the pole. And at this time of the year, November through the winter, when we do focus on this a little bit more than we do at other times of the year, when the AO is positive, you'll tend to have low pressure over the pole, which means you will usually be strengthening the westerly zonal flow. When the AO is negative, you've typically got high pressure over the pole, and so you weaken westerly flow, and when you've got high pressure over the pole, that's route to getting cold air out of pole down into the mid-latitudes. So back to the summer, we can see that the AO has been in a very positive phase. Over the past couple of weeks, it's been in a more negative phase. However, that's associated with the cold weather that we had around a week or so's time, very cold end to October. Now, the red lines at the end, the forecast from the GFS ensembles are showing that for a few days in the coming week, we're going to go positive with the AO, then probably dipping a little bit negative again. But then there's a huge amount of scatter as we're going into this second week of November, at the middle of the month. Real large amount of scatter, showing that some of the GFS ensembles are going for very positive AO conditions, some of them are going for very negative AO conditions. I suspect this is down to the blocking feature at sitting to our east. That's what's causing the confusion. Will that block go north? If it does, things could turn negative with the, or things would turn negative with the AO, as it's always the weather that's driving the index. So if the high pressure, the block goes north into the Arctic, then that would send the AO negative. However, if that block is blown away, if high pressure is blown away by the westerlies, then you'll see the AO very quickly going into positive territory. So a lot of uncertainty highlighted there by the Arctic oscillation. And the North Atlantic oscillation is the same thing. Again, the black lines tell us where we've been. With the NAO, the red lines at the end, where GFS Summer's forecasting the NAO to go. Into the summer, most of the days had positivity of the NAO. We've been negative with the NAO over the past couple of weeks. That's a cold end to October, and of course the first couple of days of November have been quite cold too. Looking ahead, we see that well, we're going to go positive with the NAO in the next couple of days, then it goes a bit negative again at the end of this coming week. And then, perhaps more strongly than the Arctic oscillation, the North Atlantic oscillation is moving into positive territory. Most of the GFS ensembles through the second week of November sending us into a positive NAO phase. So, certainly it looks like the first half of November is going to see the westerlies returning to some degree. And so fairly mild but unsettled first half to November can be expected. GFS ensembles looking like this. Looking at Newcastle. Someone's asked me to have a look at Newcastle upon time today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Newcastle upon time. And you can see that basically we're going to be above average from beginning to end. The dates are on the bottom, of course. That's where we're starting off at. This is the 19th of November at the very end of the ensemble there. And from beginning to end, basically we're above average. There is a little bit of a dip in the upper air temperatures occurring just there towards the second half of the coming week. But essentially milder than average with the upper air temperature. It does look as though the first half of November is going to be significantly milder than average. Precipitation-wise, regular rainfall spikes coming through. So I think the north and the northwest is where you're going to get the wettest weather, but there will be some rainfall getting through to the east at times as well. So mild and unsettled for Newcastle in the next couple of weeks. That's indicative of many parts of the country. Temperature anomalies from the 3rd to the 11th of November, above average, milder than average temperature anomalies through most parts of Europe. UK is included in that. No sign of anything particularly cold anywhere in Europe through the coming week. The precipitation anomaly from the 3rd to the 11th of November. Bit of an east-west split showing up, so western parts of the country coming out with above average precipitation anomalies, but drier than average in the east and particularly in the southeast. So a classic sort of northwest-southeast split with rainfall in the week ahead. This was the midnight run of the GFS. Again, we've got this duel going on in the week ahead between high pressure to our west and low pressure to the high pressure to the east and low pressure to the west. We've got the high pressure out there, we've got the low pressure just there, and we're bringing up those winds from a southerly direction. So let battle commence in the week ahead. That's all covered by week ahead forecast, of course. We're up to day 10. This is Tuesday, 13th of November. Again, still got high pressure to our east, but it's also to the south as well. So we're just beginning to revert winds back to more of a westerly there. So we're losing the southerlies, tilted wind back to the west-southwest. It still means that basically for the south and southeast, a lot of dry weather, most of the settled conditions are out to the northwest. In the more extended range, we actually reposition the high pressure just to the west of the UK. So it pulls out into the west. We've got the troughs sinking down through central parts of Europe, and that's much colder air digging in across many parts of Europe as well as we get to the very end of the GFS run, which is Monday, 19th of November. There's the upper air temperatures, looking a lot colder through most parts of Europe. We're just on the periphery of that in the UK. But certainly that's quite a big change into the second half of the month as the high pressure repositions out to west of the UK. Beyond that, of course, we have to wait and see where that high pressure goes. If it pushed north, if it headed up towards Greenland, then we would start to find much colder air coming down from the north. And that's the kind of thing we're looking for. That's kind of thing we're looking for to get this colder sort of final week to 10 days of November. This is 6 o'clock run of the GFS. This is the very latest run, although the midday run will be appearing before too much longer, I suppose. But this 6 o'clock run of the GFS, again, we've got this dual between high pressure to the east and low pressure out to the west. We run through next week and we keep this scenario going. So we're moving up towards day 10. And, well, basically, no change. We've still got the high pressure there to our east-northeast. It's centred over Scandinavia, but it covers many sort of eastern parts of Europe. Conversely, the low pressure is out to the west. So again, we're trying to bring westerly winds off the Atlantic, but high pressure to the northeast is trying to bring big winds in from an east to southeasterly sort of direction. This goes on into the extended range of the 6 o'clock run of the GFS as well. So we still have these southerly winds with high pressure to the east and low pressure remaining to the west. The wind is coming up from this southerly direction. Now, some of these aren't a particularly safe direction. So, and by safe, I'm talking about for cold weather. If you don't want cold weather, then basically what you want at this time of year, particularly in the winter, you want a westerly wind. Because from the west, it takes a lot to get wind to go from westerly to an easterly. But from a southerly wind, you can very quickly start to tilt that wind into both the southeast and also in from the east quite easily from a southerly wind. So I remember seeing a weather forecast years and years ago from the late Ian McCaskill, who was talking about how southerly winds in the winter are not a safe direction for cold weather. Although southerly winds will bring mild air up from the south, of course, it doesn't take all that much to tilt the wind from a southerly to a southeasterly and then from a southeasterly to an easterly. The only true for cold weather, the only true safe direction to not get cold weather is westerly or, I suppose, southwesterly. Westerlies can go into northerlies, of course, quite quickly, but unless you've got a Greenland block supporting that northerly wind, they tend not to last all that long. So if you see southerly winds in the winter, then it may be mild, but we aren't out of the woods in terms of getting colder conditions quite quickly. Something else that southerly winds do is produce warm air advection in the winter. So if you pump the southerly far enough north, let's say you take the southerly up to there, you'll get warm air advection, and what that will do, it will inflate a ridge on the eastern side of the southerly wind over Scandinavia. And again, if you take the southerly wind somewhere to there, like to west of Greenland, you'll inflate a ridge over Greenland itself. So southerly winds will produce warm air advection in the winter, and that is something else that can very quickly take you from a mild southerly into a freezing cold easterly sort of wind. Let's crack on, and we go to the end of this GFS run. Again, repositioning that high pressure a little bit, starting to pull it out into the middle part of the Atlantic. Just maybe the first hints that we might start to turn the wind into the north there on the, or beyond the 19th of November. That's a very, very long way off, of course. ECM also showing this battle between high pressure to the east and low pressure to the west in the days ahead. That's how we finish up with the ECMWF. The ridge is building through the country. So actually the ridge wins the battle, but it doesn't win it from the northeast. It wins it kind of like from the south and from the southeast. So we've got this ridge extending from the Atlantic through the UK into central parts of Europe. It's relatively mild, but I suppose under that ridge, if the skies are clear, we will quickly start to generate frost and fog. Very quiet conditions, though, moving up towards the middle of November there. GM again has this southerly wind maintained through to the end of the coming week and indeed into next weekend as well. It's all a case of low pressure being out to west and high pressure being to the east. We've got to the end of the GM run and we're still in this battle really between that ridge over to the east and the low pressure out to the west. So it looks like we're going to have a mild first half to November. The winds are going to be in from the south. At times may tilt southeasterly, at times may go southwesterly, but the mean wind direction looks like it's going to be southerly, so quite mild. Wettest weather will be in the west, driest weather will be in the east. We're still waiting to see where this high pressure goes as we go into the second half of the month. Finally, just leave you with the CFS V2, so these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period taking us from the 3rd through to the 9th of November. We have the above average heights to our east, but below average heights to west. We're bringing up those southerly winds. We know what that's all about. We've been talking about that in the video. Then we go through to week 2, which takes us from the 10th through to the 16th of November. The ridge is building up from the southeast as the low pressure gets pushed out towards Greenland. Still mild, but turning more settled there, possibly with night frost and fog if the skies are clear. Week 3, we get to the 17th to 23rd of November with the above average heights over the UK, and if anything, starting to build out in towards the Atlantic as well. So that's high pressure dominating. Could be getting a bit colder by that point, probably at night in particular with frost and fog. And then signs of another change as we get through to 24th to the 30th of November with the high pressure pulling into the middle of the Atlantic. A trough is sinking through central parts of Europe. The wind is going into the northwest, possibly even to the north. That could well be bringing colder air, certainly bring colder air to much of northern and central Europe. We're on the edges of it, but it could start to bring colder air even into the UK. Again, that's the kind of thing we're looking for to get colder conditions for the final week to 10 days of November. Temperature anomalies in week ahead are warmer than average, a much milder than average week coming up. No surprises there with those southerly winds, and that continues into week 2 as well. Week 2 temperature anomalies from the 10th to 16th of November are milder than average, substantially so. But week 3 shows a bit of a drop in the temperature anomaly. This is the 17th, 23rd of November. Just beginning to cool down a bit, but still above average, but not as much as it is in weeks 1 and 2. And then we get through to week 4, the final week of November, 24th to 30th, going much closer to average then, and even hinting at being a little bit colder than average perhaps through some of those central parts of Europe. Signs of a change there in the final week to 10 days of the month. That, as I say, is what we're looking for to get a colder end to November in line with regards to this November forecast. But that's a very, very long way off. It's all speculative, unreliable. In the reliable time frame, which is the next week to 10 days, we've got high pressure to the east, low pressure to the west. We're bringing up the air from the south, so it's going to be mild. The wettest weather will be in the west. The driest weather will be in the east, although there will be a little bit of rain at times in the east, and temperatures above average, and that probably continues up to the middle part of the month. We're waiting to see where this goes into the second half of November, and do we turn things colder. Right, so that's all your updates for today. You're updated with everything. And tomorrow we've got the 10th Winter 2018-19 update. It'll be the first video up at 10 AM tomorrow morning. Be another epic. And then tomorrow evening we've got the second update for Christmas. Christmas updates have started at Gazwell's. We started those on Thursday. The second Christmas update will be with you on Sunday evening. And in 18 minutes, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.